Hello guys and welcome to Tower of Fantasy. This is a PC MMORPG, or so it claims to be. It's more realistically a mobile gacha game, but this is what it claims to be on PC, and so it will be attracting several different types of gamers to play it. In the mobile gacha realm, this may be one of the most generous and least monetized games that there are, but in the PC MMORPG space, it is one of the most monetized and pay-to-win games, if not the most, that I've played in my entire life. And I've been gaming basically every day, all day, for over 20 years. School aside, of course. And so I wish to talk about free-to-play, because this game is free-to-play. And is it worth it? And I want to separate the different categories of players that would play this game and what you might be looking for out of it, because that's really going to determine if it's worth it or not for you, since this is a game with such a broad spectrum of potential appeal, at least in advertisements. So let's talk about what is monetized first. So basically everything. Everything in the game can be purchased. You have many different things. So there are weapons. These are attached to characters, and there are matrices that go onto the weapons to give them special buffs, powers, etc. Basically every single material, there may be an exception, for these can be purchased with real money, or can be earned via heavily time-gated daily and weekly reward systems that reward further investment still, even including with real money. That will be how you get these things. Additionally, there are, the characters and etc. themselves, which use gacha currencies, which is mostly driven by, as I said, daily, weekly things, as well as a premium currency that comes from spending real money. And this, you're seeing the trend, can be applied to everything in the game. You're either time-gated grinding every day or week once you get past the grinding through the game up to, what they've released to now, or you're spending a fuck ton of money on the shop. Now, some things cost more than others. The characters and weapons, honestly, are probably the cheapest part. To actually get a character or weapon is the cheapest part. This can still cost, realistically, about $150, and I could raise the number. That is not the worst case scenario. $150 per weapon, which is insane, right? If you're a PC MMORPG player, $150 PC MMORPG is enough to become the top player in the game. But then note, in this game, you need not one, but plus 6 equals 7 weapons, just for that point of progression. And there is a power creep, making sure all the weapons you do earn will become outdated and not as good eventually. So this is where we have to start separating our players. Are you a kind of player that is the normal PC MMORPG player, like the 90% that will start up a new MMO, play through the story, beat the game, and uninstall it? Are you an end game, like World of Warcraft player that doesn't care about the game, you just want to get to the daily repetitive weekly grind, and then go through specifically progression in a free, not pay-to-win scenario? Or are you a mobile gacha gamer, which is probably already more used to spending these amounts of money in general? Those are the three categories I'm going to talk about here, and you may identify yourself more with either one of them. There's obviously a no spending version of the mobile gamers, and there are obviously just action or adventure gamers that might find themselves here too, but I think they might align themselves pretty easily with one of those three demographics I just talked about. So first and foremost, if you are in the 90% of MMO gamers, this is where a lot of action or adventure gamers will end up as well, then you're going to be going through the story. Maybe you're going to be doing some of the quite extensive open world exploration, maybe not as crazy as I do 100%ing everything. You're going to be going through that stuff, the not repetitive stuff. And I will tell you that there is a system in this game known as dimension levels. This determines the difficulty of the game, except when it doesn't. I'll tackle that in a minute. Basically, the higher this number is, the harder the game gets. So if you just leave it at 10 the entire time, which if you're playing casually, or you're treating it, like a game and not like a repetitive grind, this will keep the game so easy you will never struggle no matter what character you're using. And then when it doesn't, later when you get to not the first zone, where I'm standing right now, but to the second zone, the story bosses and enemies actually start to become somewhat specifically tuned, where it doesn't matter how strong you are, it will take X amount of hits to kill it no matter what, regardless. And it's still pretty easy even then. Maybe not one-shottable, but it's pretty easy. This means that if you're in this first subset of gamers right here, and you're willing to detach yourself from all the progression mechanics of this game, which are either incredibly grindy or pay to win, depending on how you go after it, you can get through all the story and even exploration content in the game for free without spending $1 and be way stronger than you will ever need to be to do it. Insanely stronger, to the point where you will one-shot most enemies you fight in the game, maybe not most of the bosses. And that's what I'm doing. My account is fully free to play. I have not spent a single dollar, and I have not encountered any difficulties outside of end game repetitive content, because I've kept my dimension level at not 10, but 15. Because I just wanted access to certain boss rewards. I will say the game does incentivize you to raise it to get access to boss rewards, as well as some kind of useless level rewards as well. But even though it's so easy to raise it, it's very difficult to lower it. It costs premium currency, which we could see most easily. That is very rare in the game, overall, in the long run, but that you can acquire with, what do you know, real money. So for this first subset of gamers, is free-to-play worth it? I think so, entirely, yes. The less attached you are and the less invested you are into the progression of the game, then the more worth it free-to-play is. If you just treat this like a game and not like a grind or a job, then you will have all the fun you could ever want, and you can have it for free. Now, moving on to the second subset of gamers, that World of Warcraft style end game. I'm not here for the story. I'm not here for the cash shop. I'm not here for the exploration or anything. I'm here for whatever the daily, weekly, repeatable stuff is, because I actually don't know why, but I do know that that is a subset of gamers, so I will address them now. Is free-to-play worth it for this subset of gamers? I would say no. I'm not saying you need to spend a fuck ton of money, but there's some things you might want to spend money on, because you're going to log in. There's only like 10 minutes worth of daily, weekly stuff to do if you're logging in every day. That's not a lot. And so your progression is going to be very slow. And if you go try to test your progression, get a little more game time, you're going to be progressing pretty slowly. So you're going to want to purchase some stuff on the shop. The monthly pass is a decent way to get premium currencies. The pass, the battle pass, is actually a much better way to do this, probably, because you'll also get access to relics that will be way better than the free-to-play relics. So this is kind of like an item that you use, and this is one of the only ways to get it, in addition to many other one-off ways that you can spend money. And so you'll almost certainly want the battle pass, almost certainly. But there's also a lot of limited time boxes that show up that can help you get a lot of currencies, as well as progression materials. It's all here, and there's a lot of it. You could spend hundreds or even thousands of dollars. This right here, these are the end game, like, things you need in mass. Just spend a bunch of money. Here, you could spend this much of it this many times, and it'll reset every week or month. To be honest, I think this, just one of these weekly supplies, the lesser one, is more of these currencies than I earn right now in a week by playing free-to-play. Forget about the bigger one. Forget about the fact that you could buy them 3 times each, both of them. And no, I'm sorry, there's 3 of them. It gets even higher. And then the special, this one's daily. If you're buying these, you're going to be way ahead of everybody else in terms of the progression. And as I've mentioned in other videos, the progression is infinite. This is kind of the stuff you're going to want to look at spending in this category. Otherwise, I don't think this game is going to be worth it, because you're going to have some Fox progression. It's not going to be real. Will you be progressing? Sure. Will you be progressing notably at a pace that is noticeable in your gameplay at all? No, you're going to need to spend at least some amount of money. At a minimum, $10 per month. At a maximum, well, there is no maximum, but I could say you could realistically stretch this to $1,000 a month, to be honest. And that's where you WoW endgame style players that I don't know why you treat the games the way you do, but this is how you play it. This is how you need to act to make progress in this game. Now, moving on to the mobile gacha gamers. These ones I think are the most likely to spend money. And I will say up front, you need to spend money. You're gonna spend money, almost certainly. Because you're either gonna relate to that first category and quit very quickly, or you're going to go for things that I've learned you guys go for. Like this, right here. This is a character. This is an outfit for the character. How much did all this cost? Well, if we're talking about real money, this could cost you $150 for the character, for example. And honestly, for the outfit, that's another $150, roughly, just as an example. So you can earn this in-game as well, but we're talking months, and this game is full of FOMO. When this outfit drops, it'll drop for a month, and then it may not be back for a year. When a character drops, it'll be there for a month, it may not be back there for a year. If you want to be competitive, and the previous category I spoke about can relate to this as well, and you're going to upgrade your weapons, you're going to upgrade your matrices. That's more hundreds of dollars. That's more many weeks. Even if you narrow down to only playing one element, you're going to have either a lot of like useless things, a lot of old things that have been power crept, or a lot of things where you don't have the cosmetics that you want. And I know this category cares about cosmetics very, very much. And this is heavily how they get you. For example, right now as I'm recording, all these swimsuits can be obtained. Each of these, if you didn't save up any currency or you spent all of it, could cost you $150. Well, actually, it's only $150 for the first one. It'd be even more further on. Let's say like $300 for every one after that. You need to come into this game either not caring about the game at all, or you need to be willing to spend well over $1,000 to get all the things that you could possibly want. Is free-to-play worth it for the category of long-term, especially mobile gacha gamers? Oh, hell no. It's not even close. This is the exact demographic this game was designed to squeeze money out of. Way more than the endgame WoW players, but they kind of need to spend as well. And just the average gamer, though, as I spoke about in the beginning, that's just going to go through the game, play the story, and then uninstall it when they run out of things to do, maybe come back later, see the new story, that kind of thing. You guys can get through this so easily free to play. It's not even close to these other two categories. And so I've told you my assessments. I've told you why I believe in my assessments. I hope this information has been useful to you. I know I handled this very broadly, very generally. Someone will certainly be very upsetty that they don't fit perfectly into one of these three categories that I tackled, but it's already been like 15 minutes and I don't want to be sitting here for hours rambling at you about all the different possible subsets of gamers. So I hope you found this video helpful. This information hopefully has helped you in your decision on playing the game and whether or not you should spend money. I am tempted to go further into this and make 2 more videos, one on what to spend money on, what it can get you, and is spending money itself even worth it in certain circumstances, because the value that you get from some of these expenditures is really not worth it, but some of them are somewhat worth it more than others depending on what category you're in. But those would be far more in-depth topics that would be the length of this video in itself. If you do want to see that, let me know in the comments below. But for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.